Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, the playoff race is heating up. There are a lot of teams getting even closer and closer. And there's also, we got a couple other things to talk about, including a couple of Russian legends. Where do you want to start with all of this?
Where do we want to start?
We can
You know
just
what?
start with
Let's start with the funny
Kovalchuk.
news. Let's start with the funny news. Actually, the news that came out. What was it? I think it was just. I think you texted me about it, like just at the end of last week after we recorded Friday's episode, and what a kick in the dick it must be for what's his name here, Will McKinnon. If you don't know Will McKinnon, that is because he plays in the AHL, played for the Utica Comets, where his dad, what was he? His dad was the GM of the team, right?
Yes,
so.
I believe he was either the GM or like the president of hockey ops. It was one of those.
Would have had to have been GM. Yeah, would have had to be GM because he would have made the call. And basically, this guy's dad decided to trade him for future considerations. And if you don't know what traded for future consideration means, it basically means we don't want you. Get the hell off our team.
Just go away. Yeah.
Like, Thanksgiving's going to be awkward. Easter's coming up around the corner. That's going to be awkward. Christmas is going to be awkward when your own father basically says, just get the fuck off my team. That's tough. That is tough.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal. I obviously this is in the AHL, so like I really don't know the ins and outs on a lot of those teams. So you like to hope that it's, a deep team where he's not getting minutes and it's kind of like trading him to a team where he'll get more chances, more time, but yeah, hopefully it's that and not just him absolutely dumpstering his son like that, cuz that's oh man, that's like, do you think he made the phone call to let him know? Do you think he had somebody else do it?
Yeah. No, he would have had to been the one to break the news. Otherwise, he's just a bitch. If you're training your son for future
honestly fair, yeah.
at least have the balls to call and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Don't hide behind it. Own your decision. And I assume he did. And if he didn't, he's an even bigger loser.
Yeah, could you imagine like hearing that your dad traded you for literally nothing and you heard about it on like Twitter? Like, oh my god, man. That'd be
there's no coming back from that. There'd be no coming back from that.
There really isn't. Like, that's brutal. But I did have that written down. I'm really glad that you remembered that one.
Oh, I remember that one.
That is truly a wild scenario.
There was something like that happened in the AHL a couple years ago, but I can't remember. But I remember one guy's trade, but it wasn't like for future considerations. It was like still an actual hockey trade as opposed to this one where he literally just wants his son gone from the team. Like,
the fact that it wasn't for
that hurting the team that bad that you just have to dump him for nothing.
God.
Tough world out there. Tough day to be Will McKinnon.
Imagine being the other GM that he called. Hey, do you want my son? Okay, what's the catch? What's the trade for? No, just take him. Like, oh shit. I guess it's better than him paying a pick to get rid of you or something.
I mean, that is true.
I don't know if do AHL teams have draft picks and stuff?
No.
Because I know
you just get the leftovers that don't make the NHL team, basically.
Yeah, because obviously NHL teams have them, and I know the CHL teams have them, but I guess the AHL is technically the same roster as the NHL. It's just the NHL takes the best parts and leaves you with whatever.
Yeah, like I know in the AHL you can go out and sign like free agents to AHL only contracts. So like they're not even eligible to go play in the NHL. It's like you're just an AHL player, an AHL contract. But yeah, it's about as far as it goes.
No, fair enough. A bit of news here for a guy that certainly was better than an AHLer. Ilya Kovalchuk announced his retirement from professional hockey. Uh,
Good.
yeah, you're not a Kovalchuk guy, eh?
I mean, I liked him until he made that big stink and that whole thing about the 5 million year contract and then dips right away. Like, nah,
Yeah,
I'm not moved by him anymore. I was a big fan of him uh, when he was with the Devils and whatnot, but like once he dipped after that big contract, like I was nah.
would he have gotten paid for that contract? I don't think
Um,
I don't think so, because like you have to report to camp and play the games or not play because of the doctor says you're injured, right? So like he would have got paid for whatever portion of it he was there, but I assume it
yeah, I think you're
just
right.
like
I've seen people say that like he gets paid, but I'm like I don't think he would have because like he left.
yeah, you
He
can't
dipped on the team, so
like he can't there's no way he's just been chilling in Russia for years just collecting a paycheck into his bank. Like DiPietro like
yeah,
was like LTIR retired. Like he,
yeah.
you know, the
I know that New
doctors
Jersey had
had
to what
to
was it? They had to
clear that.
forfeit it might have been a first because Kovalchuk left.
Yeah.
I know New Jersey had to forfeit a pick. I believe it was a first, might have been a second, but I'm pretty
I
sure it was a
feel like
first
it
round pick. They had
I
to
feel
they
like
had
it
to
was a
forfeit.
first.
Yeah, Ottawa knows that.
Yeah,
Ottawa
I
knows
don't
that.
know why they would have to. It's not their choice that he went to Russia. Like,
Yeah,
he
exactly.
went
Right.
home. Like, you know, it would not have been my first choice, but like, if he wants to go back home, do his thing, fair enough. But I don't see how that was at all the Devils' fault.
Yeah, but yeah, Kovalchuk is officially retired. Didn't play the last few years in the KHL. Came back and played a couple games this year, and just I don't know if it's just I don't watch KHL games as I'm sure a lot of people don't. I don't know if he can, you know, if his game's not where he wants it to be anymore. If the game got too fast over the last couple of years, if his heart's just not in it, we don't know. But what we do know is that he is officially retired and on to the next chapter of his life, whatever that looks like for him. So
Uh, do you think he makes it into the Hockey Hall of Fame at any point?
no,
Like,
no, I really don't. Strictly because he left the way he did after that
yeah,
big thing and then dipped. I mean.
that's honestly fair. I think he probably
And I
would
mean,
have
like,
without that, but
if he stayed, but at the end, if he gets in the Hall of Fame, it's like it, a good player. Like, I'm not going to sit here and bash on him, but to me, then it just kind of is like you can get into the Hall of Fame just off your name alone, right? Because
isn't that
yeah,
kind of part of it?
he was a
The Hall of Fame, you
yeah,
you're famous for being a great hockey
but
player.
yeah, but it's more than that because like during his prime, he was a great player, but he didn't play 1,000 games in the league. Didn't end up reaching 1,000 points. He has one Rocket Richard, no Stanley Cups. Like,
I guess, but
if I'm
he
sitting there, I'm putting, like just thinking of guys available. Like, well, I just don't think so. In my opinion,
I definitely
if
don't
he
think he
does, I'm
does
not gonna
because of
argue it. But
yeah. I definitely think he doesn't because of the way he left. They That being said, I completely forgot he did end up returning to the NHL later on, playing
yeah,
a cup of coffee with actually full season with the Kings and then a little bit with the Canadians and Capitals before hanging him up. But you know, he did play through the dead puck era, and 443 goals in less than 1,000 games is pretty solid, especially in that era. But yeah, we've seen several players in the past do things that the league doesn't like one way or another. Hell, sometimes it's just one or two guys don't like it, and they're so respected that everyone's like, "Yeah, we won't induct the guy because you don't like him." So
hmm
I could really see it either way. Depends who holds grudges on him, if anyone does, and how much so. Um, Also, oh, CBS Sports does not like my ad blocker. They're really cool for that. There it is. So the New Jersey Devils, back when this happened, they were fined $3 million, lost a third-round draft pick that year when it happened in 2011, and then they were told they were going to lose a first-rounder at some point in the next 4 years. And they were allowed to pick that year. And so, of course, like a lot of teams do, every year they said, oh, next year, oh, next year. By the time it got to the fourth year, so now it's in 2014, when they would have given it up, then the NHL decided that they would keep that pick. So several years later, it finally came time to pay for it, and the league was like, you know what, whatever. Just
at this point now, who
just
cares?
Yeah, just keep it. Which, you know what, is probably good that it happened that way.
Yeah, that's as it should have. That's the way it should have. But long story short, I don't like, again, if he didn't leave because he would have had over 1,000 games, would have had over 1,000 points, would have had over 500 goals, 500 assists, probably, yeah, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. But I think the way he left, and kind of after that, the whole big contract thing and whatnot, I just don't think so. If he does, sure, cool. If someone's to say, hey, you get the sole decision, does he go in or not? My opinion, no.
Yeah, fair enough.
You teach their own with it. Really doesn't matter to me at the end of the day.
But either way, good career from him, and we'll see if he gets into a managerial role anywhere. Very doubtful with the NHL, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised to hear that he's the head coach of St. Petersburg in the KHL or something in a couple of years. Wouldn't be shocked at all. Unless Ovi decides he wants that job, in which case the entire team will pick up Kovalchuk and throw him out the door themselves.
Oh yeah, give him the Tony D'Angelo treatment.
But where do you want to go next after that?
Well, we might as well talk with the other, the guaranteed Hall of Famer, Alex Ovechkin. We're just going to keep updating this as it goes on until we get there eventually.
Have to.
Scored a goal over the weekend against San Jose. Not hard to do at all, but that does now mean that he is only 8 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goal record. Closing
in fast, man. Really, like,
he's a beast.
Didn't think he was even. I thought he was going to get kind of close being like within 20 to 15 goals this year, and that's with me expecting him to not miss any games, but he missed some games, and still, like, he might get it done this year. Still looking very, very possible for him.
Yeah,
he's got 15 games left for the Capitals. 8 goals.
I see people complaining about this, about like, oh, Bovey's gonna break Gretzky's record. People need to realize that in terms of big accolades, like the big stats, we're not going to see anything like this in a very, very long time. Like an extremely long time before we see any of these major milestones get broken. I have it pulled up here. This is from Mike Bartner. If you don't follow him on socials, you should. He posts a lot of good hockey stuff. He's got this here. So this is only active NHL players, and this is how close they are to. They're the closest player to these certain big milestones. So like Ovechkin, we know, is only 8 goals away from the most goals all time. Yeah. Sidney Crosby is the closest to most points all time. He is 1,189 away. That obviously being Wayne Gretzky's record as well. No one's ever breaking that. Crosby's the closest in assists with 910. That ain't happening. Marc-Andre Fleury, who we know is retiring at the end of this year, is 119 wins away from having the most wins all time by a goalie. Brent Burns is 676 points by defenseman away from all-time points by defenseman. That's not happening. Ryan Suter is 267 games away from most games all time.
I can't imagine Suter's
playing. And then Sidney Crosby, 182 playoff points away from most playoff points all time. Like, we're not going to see a race like this anytime soon. For at least 2 decades, we're not going to see a player this close and on the charge to setting an incredible milestone. So we should be enjoying this time. We should be enjoying the ride that Ovi has taken us on, especially this season with the injury and the
Just the
insane goal
resurgence
scoring
of the
pace he's at.
Capitals,
Like,
really.
yeah, and
Like,
the complete turnaround of this franchise is incredible. And if you're someone that's on the side of complaining about it and you don't like it, that's tough.
yeah.
I don't
And
know
I
how much
think,
more to say.
and
It's
I do
just
think
tough.
for a lot of people, it's either they don't like Ovechkin or they really like Gretzky. And a lot of people being like, he's the great one. You don't want to cheer against, he's clearly the GOAT. You don't want to cheer against his records. And like, I get that to a certain degree, but like Gretzky himself for 5+ years at least has been saying, I hope he does it. I can't wait to see it. I want to be in the building when it happens. Like, he's not losing sleep over it. And if he is, it's because he's excited.
Records were made to be broken.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's how it is.
Yeah. And yeah, I gotta say, out of the ones you named there, I gotta disagree. I do think we see a similar chase within 20 years, but I wouldn't be
But for what?
surprised if we didn't. Um, I definitely think of the ones you named. The bit of the layup is games played. I think somebody at some point is going to get up there in games played. Probably not in the next couple of seasons, but you know, depending on how high up some of the games played for some of those guys are, they might be able to get up there.
Maybe, but it's tough to get that money, especially nowadays. Like, you have to go like basically year after year after year without getting injured or playing like at least 70 games per year and doing that over, at least 15 seasons straight type of thing, and then still keep going. It definitely could happen, but
what's the record?
Very unlikely.
For games played. Because that
I know
would be
what Marlowe got to
Marlowe.
when he passed Howe. I don't know how much he ended. It wasn't much more. It was only a few more. 1,779.
1,100.
record.
Sorry, 1,800.
Sorry, 1,779.
1,779. Okay, so yeah, like a lot of these guys right at the top there. Ryan Suter, Brent Burns, Ovechkin, Kopitar. I don't see any of them getting there, but like if you go down a bit, there's some guys that have been Iron Men for a while that it's like I could maybe see it. Damn, Dmitry Kulikov, 1,000 games played. Good for him.
I mean, out of active NHL guys that are up at that point right now, I don't see it. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but very unlikely that any of these guys that are at that 1,000 game mark or beyond probably don't.
Yeah, the more I'm looking at it,
guys that are active, like
I doubt anybody who right now has more than 1,000 games played. I don't know if any of them do it.
That's what I'm saying. It's gonna be like at least 10 years.
Well, you said 20, and you can.
I very realistically probably is 20.
In 10 years, you can put up 800 games.
Yeah, but again, that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to like become the new Iron Man in the league. You have to play every game, not get injured or anything. Like, it's not easy, and that's what I'm saying. It's
absolutely not.
It's gonna be a while. Not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, in my opinion, it will probably be that around that 20. And that's even just to sniff it, because again, I think to have that many is you just have to have not only that, but also in this NHL, again, you got to be thinking like, if it's going to be someone who's going to have the most games played all time, it's got to be a McDavid, a Draisaitl, a McKinnon. Like, it's got to be a player that is so good that they're going to be able to play into their 40s, right? Like, we're kind of seeing nowadays where there's some decent players that once you kind of hit that 35, 36 mark, you're you're kind of done. And there's not really look at Phil Kessel. Or like that's a guy that still could have gone for a couple more years, and it was just like there was no team out there to sign him, type of thing. So to break it, you got to first of all be healthy and have a long career, but you also have to be a good enough player to where even when you get up into your mid to late 30s, potentially early 40s, there's not a massive drop off. Like you can still be a productive player every night to where you're not being a healthy scratch. You're just in the lineup and you're doing it.
The other one that I think could potentially be broken, definitely I'm not thinking in the next 10 years, but within 20, I think it's possible, is the goals record that Ovechkin is currently on the hunt for. It again, is it incredibly likely?
But I didn't mention
Not
that
really.
one. I was kind of looking outside the goals, but I think goals is definitely with some of the guys we have.
Yeah. And it's just a fun conversation to have because there's some guys that are so lights out at goal scoring in the league right now that are, man, some of them are young and they are like closing in on some big names already to get there. Like some of these guys have just been scoring an unreal rate. Like Draisaitl, Matthews, and Pasternak are all closing in very quickly on 400 career goals. Matthews doing it in barely over 600 games. That's unreal.
Yeah.
Matthews,
I think when it's all said and done, I think Matthews ends up having it.
You do think he has it?
I think so.
I hope he does. I think he definitely could. It's just health permitting. His goals per game is absolutely insane, but he's just had injury issues a couple times too many, and it doesn't feel like he's injury prone is what gives me hope. It feels like it's a bunch of weird random stuff that happens. It doesn't feel like a guy that's just like he's into the lineup, he's concussed again, he's in the lineup, he's concussed again. Like it does feel like he's just got a little bit unlucky, and hopefully that's the case. So one of the things that I had in here to talk about was the all-time goalies win list, which is something that you brought up a bit ago. And there's been a almost a strange amount of movement in there, considering it's the all-time list. Like you said, Fleury, second all-time in wins at this point, 573. Sergei Bobrovsky, earlier this week, moved into sole possession of 10th all-time in wins. Man, does that blow my mind, dude.
He ain't sniffing Roder's record, though.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, we're not talking about that record anymore. We're just talking about the all-time win list in general.
Okay.
He just passed Tony Esposito at 423, so now he has 424. And dude played in Columbus for several years. How is he this high on the wins list? Like
a lot of good years in Florida.
Oh yeah,
like
I mean, how long has he been there? Like, has he really been there that long?
Was in the
like 4 or 5 years?
6 year of a 7-year deal.
Yeah, I guess
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is in a 6 year. Even with Columbus, though, near the end with Columbus, 41 wins, 37.
Like that's pretty good on a team that up until 2019
never had
literally never won.
Florida.
Yeah, like
his highest is with Columbus.
Like that's crazy. That's with a team that he had never won a playoff series until 2019. Like that blows my mind that he's 10th all time is so impressive to me. That he's been able to do that.
What's more impressive is the fact he won 2 Vezinas as a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't imagine it's easy to be eye-catching and grab people's attention in Columbus either for individual hardware. So like good on him. And honestly, we got a couple other guys on this list like that are moving up rather quickly. Jonathan Quick signed an extension a bit ago. He's at 402. He's still slowly moving up. I can't imagine he goes too much further than 11 or 12, but he's making his way up. Both Vasilevsky and Connor Hellebuck are just absolutely climbing like there's nobody's business. But yeah, it's really fun to see some of the insane goaltending that we're getting from these guys who have been so good for the better part of the last decade.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
I
a lot of good goalies in the league currently that are, at that level where they're going to be the guy for, at least another 7-8 years. And again, even if you're on a bad team like we've seen with Bobrovsky, you can still rack up wins, even with a bad team in front of you. So there's a lot of these guys that are just going to keep climbing the list every year, basically, with how close
yeah,
it is between a lot of them.
yeah. And in my mind, there's only at the moment, seemingly, I think there's only really two active goaltenders that even and this is a huge, like, everything has to go right, even have a chance at going for Broder's win record. Um, Honestly, and they're like two of maybe three guys who really even have much of a chance to get past Marc-Andre Fleury at this point. And that's Andre Vasilevsky and even further down the line, Jake Ottinger, because he's been incredible and the Stars have got a real good setup for the next several years. But like, even their
Jake
situations,
Ottinger,
it's a real tough sell.
Yeah, Jake Ottinger, no.
You don't think so?
No, because it's the fact that, especially like nowadays, to even get there right, you have to be on a good team for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously we talked about Bobrovsky. You can be on a bad team, but you don't have the time at that point. If you're getting 30 and 30 and 30, like that's just not enough. Jake Ottinger is already 26. And again, for most of goalies, once you hit that 37, 38, like you're not going to be playing the 60 plus games. You're going to be either tandem or like a Jonathan Quick, like a Semyon Varlamov. You're going to be, more of a backup type guy. And the fact that he's only at 143, assuming again, probably 10 to 11 years left of being a bona fide starter.
Yeah, he's got to put up damn near like 45 to 50 wins a season.
Yeah.
Like
Vasilevsky maybe.
And even then, incredibly tough odd. Like Broder just started like 75-ish games for like 10 years straight.
Like the moment Broder hit puberty, he was playing 75 games a year in the league and winning almost every one of them.
And he did it till he was like almost 40, probably until a little after 40. So
yeah, like it's just, even when you look at it, like the most games played all time by a goalie, like Broder's got that by over 200 still.
Yeah, it feels like Fleury's been playing forever. And if he played all 82 games for the Minnesota Wild starting now per season, he'd still need like 2.5 seasons. Yeah. Just to tie Broder. And he's currently in the middle of his farewell tour.
We're talking about Fleury, second most games played all time, second most wins. We know that this is Fleury's last year. So the numbers he has at the end of the season, those are going to be his final numbers.
They're going to be set in stone. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? It is just really fun. Like you mentioned with Ovechkin, just watching guys climb the all-time lists and stuff. And, as far as Ovi goes, I was saying it quite a bit earlier in the year. I don't think we're going to get there. I do now at this point. I think it's...
Yeah.
Who the hell's going to stop him, man? I really thought Washington at some point would cool off. Nope. They won it all.
They're keeping it going. There's no slowing down for him right now, it really looks like. What do you want to move on to next?
I do have one more little stat here, which is, it feels a little cherry-picked. It's a little wordy to get through, but it's a good stat. And I thought that this was one player. Turns out there's two guys looking to break this record this year. The record being the most goals either in a season or to start a season without scoring a power play goal. And so I don't know if you know.
Ooh.
I don't know if you know who's going
Ooh.
for it, but there's two separate guys
I
going
know
for it
I know
this year.
exactly who they both are.
Yeah.
I
So
know exactly who they
currently,
both are.
the record is held by who is this? Doug Smale,
Legend of the game.
absolute legend. He had 31 goals and 0 power play goals in the 84-85 season. That is now tied with Brandon Hagel with 31 goals and 0 power play goals. That's what I was looking for. But apparently, already tied for second in this because nobody's ever done 30 goals without it. But 29 goals and 0 power play goals, Alexei Protas of the Washington Capitals again. Which, I guess it's rather easy to not get goals on Washington's power play when you got Ovi over there. But, like, damn, great seasons from both of those two guys.
Well, and Protas doesn't even play on the power play.
He doesn't even play on it.
He's a 5-on-5 penalty kill guy.
Yeah, and you know what? More of the same with Hagel on that. Like, he's gotten stints on the top power play, but he's more often than not playing the last 30 seconds of it out there with the second unit. And yeah, they don't want to waste his energy. Like, he's so good 5-on-5, so good on the penalty kill. Like, if he has no power play time, he's still going to play 19 to 20 minutes a night. So
yeah, like those are guys you don't need them on the power play. Like they're better penalty killer guys. They're better 5-on-5 than they are power play guys. Like they're guys that are better when they're moving around the ice. They're as opposed to standing still and both good players, but they're not like that superstar level of player that can just sit out there on a power play and just pass it around and make it look easy. They're dogs. Yeah. They want to run. They want to go out there and hit. They want to get in the dirty areas. They want to
they win through effort.
The net for those loose pucks. Exactly. So
yeah, you win through effort, and on the power play, you kind of got to be patient and pick your moment. So
exactly. Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. But hey, you know what? Shout out to Hagel and Protas because goddamn, that's a pretty cool stat. I like that.
Do you think either one of them ends the year without a power play goal?
I mean,
I think Hagel might. Protas, no. Like if he's not been on the power play all year, like,
I was gonna say, yeah,
I doubt Washington is gonna.
Why would you change your power play now? Like, yeah, he's been killing it. Their team's been killing it. No reason to. The Lightning, I doubt it. Like, so he does play sometimes on the second unit. So like, I could see it. I wouldn't be surprised to see him knock one home, but they just don't need to, especially with getting Bjorkstrand now. We really don't need him ever to try and be on that top line unless, somebody else up there goes down with an injury. So
yeah, fair enough.
Probably not, but like I think he would be more likely to get one than Protas, just because if Protas isn't playing on the power play, it's pretty hard to score from the bench.
Yeah.
Seen it a handful of times, but generally not too much.
I'm just looking it up here. We're not focusing on the more impressive stat here. Michael Grabner, back-to-back seasons, put up 27 goals. Didn't have a power play goal in either year.
I noticed that when I saw that. I was like, damn, that's pretty impressive. There's a couple names on here that come up multiple times.
Had a couple shorthanded goals in there, but no. Back-to-back seasons, 27 tucks, not a single power play goal.
Dude can't do it on the man advantage.
Dude couldn't do it on a fucking breakaway either. His breakaway stats were awful.
Hate to see it.
Speaking of awful, San Jose Sharks officially eliminated from playoff contention. No surprise there. We all know they weren't going on a heater this year. Anything. Teams definitely improved from last year. People love to rag on still, but the results are much better. And despite, being 32nd in the league, I mean,
The
vibes are a lot
not
better
30
than
second.
Chicago. We're seeing Bedard back-to-back 10-minute misconducts. He's kind of going through it right now there in Chicago, and in San Jose, I mean, they suck, but
does he have a teammate
the
he
players
outwardly
know that
likes?
suck, and
Like maybe other than Foligno? Like, does he have anyone even remotely close to his age that like that's kind of his Robin to his Batman, his even just his a guy he looks like he enjoys playing with? Like it doesn't look fun for him out there.
I mean, he kind of had Philip Kurashev, but then Kurashev just like has been awful this year.
Yeah.
He had 54 points in 75 games last year, 10 points in 43.
Oof.
He's not going to mainstay in the lineup.
Damn, that's a drop off.
No, he really doesn't have anyone.
Yeah, and that sucks. Like they've been in the rebuild not incredibly long, but long enough that they should have brought Bedard in and been like, he will be the centerpiece around the other good players we've drafted. And they don't have that. Obviously, they got some other guys coming up. You got Lev Shunov and all that, but none that are there yet making an impact or even playing games for the team, really.
One thing worth knowing, though, we were talking about Ryan Donato and how Chicago chose to hold on to him. Since February 1st, he's got the third most points out of any player in the league, so I thought that was pretty cool. Second thing, don't get me wrong, watching Chicago lose, like, I'm okay with, just because we literally, we saw them put up a dynasty. We saw them be successful for so many years. I watched them eliminate San Jose in the playoffs time after time. It was just like, just stop. Like, I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, I even got to see that once.
But I kind of want them to just be like somewhat good, so like people can just stop with that dumb narrative of like, oh, get Bedard out of Chicago, like the team sucks. It's like, what first overall pick goes to a good team? We weren't banging the drum for McDavid to demand
the point
a trade
is
out of
that they don't
suck, like Matthews. Like, no, it's just annoying though, and like just let the guy play hockey. Yeah, he's on a bad team. He knows it. We all know it. Management knows it. They're going to be good eventually, and yeah, sure, he doesn't have the greatest numbers this year, but again, what is he supposed to do? Like, he really doesn't have much of anyone to play with. Like, just let the guy play hockey. He's getting heated. He's showing emotion, like as he should. He's already looked at as a leader on the team. He's your franchise. Like, he's a leader. He wants to win. That's good.
This is a quote from Nathan McKinnon 6 days ago. He said that he would have absolutely killed to have the numbers that Bedard is putting up right now when he was 19 years old. We
were talking about McKinnon his first couple seasons.
Took him 4, 5, 6 years to really show that he was like, not, he's the best guy in his draft class. Like he really didn't look like it for a bit there, and he wasn't reaching that next level. And I mean, look at him now. He's absolutely insane.
Was it McKinnon's like fourth or fifth year in the league? Colorado was the worst team in the league, and like they were bad,
and they were
awful,
damn near generationally bad. I believe it was the 17-18 year.
And they didn't win the draft lottery. They got bumped down to 4. And that was the best thing that ever happened to that franchise.
Yeah, first season, he had all 82 games played, 63 points. Sophomore slump after that, 64 games played, 38 points. 72 games played, 52 points. Up to 82 games again, stays down at 53. Like, first 4 years, like, a good player. You're definitely not scratching this guy, but like, he wasn't good. He was not what a first overall is supposed to be. And then he broke out 97 points, 99, 93, 65 and only, but that's in 48 games. I believe that, yes, that was the COVID shortened year as well. 88, and then 111, 140. Currently at 103 in 68 this year. I believe still leading the league. So yeah, he's doing just fine. And comparing that to Bedard, Bedard's got higher numbers compared to McKinnon when he was that age. So
yeah,
I think he's going to be just fine.
Yeah,
They just need to find the guys to be around him.
Yeah, and they're trying. Some of their draft picks aren't looking the greatest, but not every pick's a home run. They still got some pieces. They're going to get more. They've got a couple first stocked up. They're going to have another high pick this year. Like,
yeah,
they're going to be fine. They're going to be picking in the top 4, and I think even if they win the lottery and get first overall, I think they're still going to go with a forward. So they're going to have someone up there in the mix with Bedard. I don't know who, don't know what direction they're going to go with, but they're going to get someone.
They're the only team that like is around that like top 5 draft pick position that I think if they draft number 1, they shouldn't take Schaefer. I think every other team should take him. I think
Buffalo wouldn't.
Oh, you know what? I don't think Buffalo. You know what? That's actually a great call. I don't think Buffalo should either. They've already got 2 first overall defense, but they need
Seattle would
forward talent.
I think Philly. Actually, I don't think Philly would. Nashville would be an interesting one. I'm not sure with Nashville because they really.
I have no idea if they would.
They're too because Nashville's like the one like where you kind of maybe
nice to
want
get a Yossi replacement
for Yossi, but at the same time, like your center depth right now is really bad, and you don't really have anything coming up for that. So Nashville would be actually a really interesting one because it's like you've got.
I think in Nashville's situation, they need to go top available player. Like looking a first overall pick is such a big thing. It's weird to look at, especially such an aging team like that, and be like, our depth here isn't as good. Like,
but that's the thing with this draft is like if you are picking first overall, in my opinion, there's not a clear cut number 1 guy. In my opinion, it really would come down to what do you value more? Do you want that number 1 defenseman of the future, or do you want that number 1 center of the future? Which one do you think you're more likely to get elsewhere? Probably the number 1 center, I think. I don't like number 1 defensemen are hard to come by. But
both are hard to come by. I think defensemen are a bit harder.
You look at the way Nashville's developed defensemen. I mean,
Nashville just screams a team that would take the defenseman. Maybe because they've had guys like Yossi and Weber and Subban at different times, but like
at home,
they just seem like a team that absolute like just elite defensemen just look so good in that Nashville yellow. Something about it.
Yeah, but you don't look good for them. They've never had before an elite number 1 center.
And you know what? They went out and signed a couple of them. It's not going well, but they did.
Yeah, but they're not really centers anymore.
I love that your argument was they aren't even centers anymore, not that they aren't elite anymore.
No, because Nashville's just a bad team. Vibes are bad.
The vibes are abhorrent.
I mean, players aren't doing great, but you take any of those guys and you put them on. Hell, you even put them on a San Jose or Chicago. They're probably putting up better numbers. Let's be real. Like something's just in the water in Nashville.
Yeah,
the team really should just pull an Ekblad and just like why not? Just do something to boost your numbers a bit. Like really, it's bad.
It's bad.
Let's move on from Nashville. I'm done. Yeah. I'm done talking about them for this season. Really,
honestly, fair.
I just want to forget them. Feel bad.
What do you want to move on to next? Because I do have one little bit of trivia that'll be relatively quick at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I think all that's left really. It's a good time to do it. Is we're officially, as of today, it's the day we're recording this. There's only 1 month left in the regular season, and we were talking about the playoff race last week and how close it is, boy, has that changed. It is really starting to look like the playoffs are coming down to that with a month left. Like, stuff could change. Obviously, there is still a lot of time, but it's really looking like it's coming down to the second wildcard spot in the East and the second wildcard spot in the West.
Yeah.
Like, over the weekend, I mean, Ottawa's really started to pull ahead. New Jersey in the last week has had 2 big wins over Columbus to really pull themselves ahead of the Blue Jackets now. It's a close race, but again, the West and East, it's really, it kind of seems like there's only that one spot that's open.
Yeah, there's still a lot of teams fighting for these spots, but it is at the point where it's only one spot per conference, and I guess the West is pretty locked up. I think the East is still a little bit more open, but I don't see.
Isn't locked up.
Sorry?
The West isn't locked up. There's so many teams fighting for that second wild card spot.
No, sorry. The first wild card spot is becoming locked up at 81 points, and then
Ottawa is. I don't see Ottawa falling out.
They're only 5 points from falling out, 5 or 6 is why I say it. I don't see them falling out. Good. I think they're 7-2-1 in their last 10. Like, I do not by any means predict it. In fact, I would sooner predict they go up and pass the Leafs, honestly, and hit third in the Atlantic. But more than likely, I think they stay first in the wild card. But the Rangers at 72 points, Canadians are 1 behind at 71. And then at 70, you have Detroit and Columbus. And then right behind them, you got the Bruins at 69 and the Islanders at 68. There's a lot of teams still sniffing around there. And yeah, it's hard to tell who's going to get it. I feel like the Rangers probably will, as much as I don't like it.
I feel like it is, and it bums me out because Columbus really
wanted Columbus
themselves in the foot. They were looking in a good spot, and then, you know, they're on a 4-game homestand right now. They've already lost the first 3, only scoring 1 goal.
It's brutal,
those
man.
3, and more than anything, you've lost 4 in a row, 2 of them against the Devils.
That's the team that I predicted that they were going to go on a tear. The Devils were going to fall off. I thought they'd beat the Devils in those games and absolutely catapult themselves. If they won those 2 games in regulation, the Devils are down at 76 points and Columbus is up 74. At 74. It's right there.
Not only is Columbus in that wildcard spot currently, but they're right in prime position to jump into third in the Metro.
Those 4-point games are huge.
The only saving grace Columbus has right now is the fact that they do still have 3 games in the season against Ottawa. And realistically, I think if Columbus is going to make the playoffs, you have to win all 3 of those. Because you've got a lot of tough other games. You've got Washington a couple times. You've got Toronto. You've got Florida, Colorado. Like, you've got a lot of tough opponents. And I think if you're going to want to make it, I think you have to beat Ottawa all 3 times there. You have to take 6 points away from them, and you have to take them all for yourself. And then maybe.
Yeah.
Because the way it looks right now, I don't want the Rangers to. But I don't think Columbus ends up finishing higher than the Rangers.
I'm not going to count them out because I believe in a little bit of magic.
It's an uphill battle.
It's an uphill battle.
They made it a lot harder for themselves now with the not on like 4-game losing streak sucks, but when 2 of them were against the Devils, who you were closing in on, like you were really right there with them.
I mean, we make it sound a little worse than it is. They have a game in hand on the Rangers, who are in that second wild card, and they're 2 points behind them. If they win their next game, now they're tied in games played and points. Like, obviously, but like it's not that much of an uphill battle. It's not. No,
but the Rangers got a lot of, because Columbus doesn't really have any that I'm calling freebies in their schedule, whereas with the Rangers, they still got a couple. They got a couple. Like, they got the Flyers, they got the Sharks, they got the Ducks, they got the Flames. Unfortunately, sorry, Flames fans. the Canucks, like they got a
Well, it
lot
depends if
that
Wolf's playing.
should be.
Yeah,
He didn't have the greatest game tonight.
no, he did not. I put $1 on both him and Vasilevsky to get a shutout. And I was watching the game, and Vasi got the shutout. I was like, "Hey, cool!" Check the score of the other game. It was 6-1 at the time.
Yeah, it
Yikes!
was. It's not even like Wolf had a bad game. The team wasn't there much in front of him, but
No, like Matthews had 3 points. Marner, I think, had at least 2 or 3. Like it was, their big
yeah.
guys were going off.
But with the Rangers, there's a couple games that like are almost a guaranteed 2 points for them. Whereas Columbus, you're really gonna have to be fighting again. Like
Yeah,
I'm still rooting for Columbus. Obviously, if I had to pick a team in the mix, there, I want them to be in it. Like I think that'd be a great story. It'd be a great underdog story. Like
100%.
but it's an uphill battle for them for sure.
Yeah, and over in the West, it's even more locked up in that first wild card spot. Like we were saying, the Wild have 81 points. I don't even know if that's updated for their win over the Kings tonight. And then
Um,
Vancouver has 73 in the second wild card, tied with St. Louis, also at 73. Flames and Utah both are at 71. Like
all four of
they,
those teams, just slugging it
all
out with
four of
each
them
other.
right in there. I still believe that I think it's going to be the St. Louis Blues who get in. I think Binnington's gonna do just good enough. I think they got just enough depth scoring that they'll be able to do it. But Elise Pettersson, he's been hot the last week or so.
Which is about
He's
damn
looking
time.
better.
About damn time he's getting it going.
Hey, you know what? I'm not even gonna hit him with that. I'm just gonna say props. People have been rightfully, but very hard on him for quite a bit now. The amount of stats of Radko Gudas and Matt Rempe and some goalies having more goals than him since the new year
I
and
mean,
stuff.
they was all
And
true
they're all
though.
true.
They're
Oh,
all
they were
factual.
absolutely all true. But you know what? Everyone was real hard on him, so I'm just enjoying the people who are saying, "Hell yeah, Elias Pettersson is back." The forward Elias Pettersson.
Let's need a couple more games. Need a couple more games before we say he's fully back.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's like fully returned to form, but
He's
as far
definitely
as his
trending
last
in the
few
right
games,
direction. He's looking more comfortable, more confident. He's actually starting to shoot the puck a lot more. That was kind of the biggest thing during,
yeah,
this big slump was just not shooting the puck, for whatever reason. But he's starting to throw the puck on net more. It's starting to go in, and you can see that he's getting that confidence of shooting the puck, which is the biggest thing. If
yeah,
you're out there and you're afraid to do stuff, you're not gonna do well. You're not gonna be a good player. You're gonna struggle and all that. But you just throw those fears away and just do what you're good at. Yeah, it works.
yep. And in his last 6 games is really when it started. In his last 6 games, he's had an assist, a goal and an assist, a goal and an assist, a goal, 0 points, and a goal. So he's been putting them up. So and something that the Canucks desperately need right now in the middle of that playoff race because I believe it was up until recently. It might still be the case. I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe since the new year, as of like a week ago, their top 3 scorers were all defensemen.
Yeah.
And that's brutal. I think it was Quinn Hughes, Philip Pronik, and Tyler Myers, I want to say. And I mean, good players, especially Quinn Hughes, obviously, but as your top 3 scorers over a 2 to 3 month period, that is a huge yikes.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
it's not ideal. It's not ideal.
they've weathered it. They are currently in a playoff spot. We'll see if they can hold on to it.
Yeah, we'll keep tabs on that. Obviously, as that's going to be one of the biggest things this season comes down to it. But I think that's about all of the news, well, at least around the league. But yes, you did mention you have something here at the end. I have no idea even what this is. What you have
Yeah.
here.
And I don't, to my knowledge, you haven't really looked at this, but we were talking about kind of stuff around it. And that is point production in current active players, specifically the top 50. I'm not going to have you name all 50. That would be ridiculous.
Even though I could, but go on.
Oh, of course. You 50 for 50. Lock it in. But I thought it might be fun. I have the top 50, again, active players that have not yet retired in the league. How I want you to give me a guess, and you could do this in either order. I want you to give me a guess of how many of them are defensemen and which defensemen are in there. We don't
What is
need
this for?
just the top
active with
50
points?
active points. Yeah, sorted by points.
Okay.
I don't need them in order. I want to hear whatever's easier. If you want to throw out a number and then try and count who would be in there, or if you just want to start listing off defensemen you think would be in the top 50, and then when you run out of names, if you want to give me that number, either way works.
Okay.
And you know what? I'll
Ooh,
even give
shit.
you a range here. Number 50 is Matthew Tkachuk. He has 636 career points.
636. Okay, so I got speed
And
defenseman of more than 636.
yeah. And of course, at number 1, Sidney Crosby with 1,669 points. Nice.
Okay, so basically, just don't have to think how many. Just if they have more than 636.
Yeah.
It's going to be all older defensemen. We're not going to have any of these young guys dominating the league right now.
Well, you never know.
When I say that, though, I mean like Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes.
Yeah, no, yeah.
They won't be at that level yet. They'll get there, but not there yet.
Fuck, they'll probably get there relatively quickly, honestly.
So I'm just gonna throw a couple names down here that I know for sure. I know for sure 5, and that would be Eric Carlson, Brent Burns, Drew Doughty, Roman Josi, Chris Letang. Those guys would all be on the list there.
So you said Eric Carlson, Brent Burns, Drew Doughty, Josi, and Letang?
Yeah.
All right.
Victor Hedman would be on there too. What's that? 6 so far?
Yes, that is 6 so far.
Maybe no one from there. One from there. Because again, it's
Are you thinking like teams
older than 30? Yeah, I'm just kind of going through teams. I'm thinking like defensemen that are basically, well, not only good, but like at least over 30. I feel like you have to be like at least 30 or older as a defenseman to be at that level where you have more than whatever 630 points. Sorry, 636. Close enough.
Close enough.
Got 6. Like, I mean, top 50 players. Like, there can't be many. Like, there might only be 1 or 2 more defensemen, realistically. Is Chris Letang might not be. Oh, he's got to be though. He's like what, 36, 37?
I think he's like 37.
Something like that. Yeah, he's got to be. He's got to be. He's been in the league for so long and part of that trio in Pittsburgh.
It's
fuck. John Carlson.
It's a tough one.
Duh. John Carlson's got to be.
Carlson. All right.
There's got to be someone else that I'm missing. Just kind of going through teams and
it's
1,
tough
2,
to think
3,
about.
4, 5, 6, 7. I said 7 or 8, so I could be right with just the 7, but I feel like there's at least one more. I feel like you wouldn't be asking this unless there's like a trick one. Someone like just that would stump me.
But what if that's one of the guys you already said?
None of these would stump me. None of these would stump me. It's weird that it took me that long to remember John Carlson. Oh, I do believe there is one more.
Who's that? Who you got?
And it helps that we talked earlier about all-time games played. Ryan Suter has to be on here because he's got over 1,500 games. And during his prime, he was good for
Ryan Suter?
50 to 60 points. So I feel like Ryan Suter could. So I think that's what I'm going to lock in.
You're going to lock in?
There might be someone else, but if there is, all right, fair.
All right, so you're locking in.
There's no Morgan Riley. There's no
at 8. Is that?
I believe so. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8. Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, Roman Josi, Chris Letang, Victor Hedman, John Carlson, Drew Doughty, Ryan Suter. I might be missing one though. I think there might be one, but
all right. In order, in points, we have Brent Burns with 904, Erik Karlsson with 866.
Wow, Burns is that far ahead of Karlsson,
right?
Burns should have an asterisk. He did play some time as forward, but
yeah, he's also played.
Love him. He's also
1482
games.
Got a Norris. So huge Norris. Victor Hedman at 781. Chris Letang at 769. Nice. Roman Josi at 724. John Carlson at 718. Ryan Suter at 694.
He is on there.
Drew Doughty at 678.
Oh no.
And that is it. He got the complete sweep.
Nice.
He guessed 8 and went 8 for 8 on naming them. Well done.
Had to think of the older players. I wouldn't have got Ryan Suter if we weren't talking about him earlier.
I'll be honest. Yeah, even with talking about him earlier, if you asked me this, I don't think I would have got him.
Yeah, because his early days in Nashville, he was racking them up, and when you play that many games and on good teams,
yeah, at over 1,512 games, he's averaged 24 minutes and 9 seconds of time on ice. I don't know if anyone else on here is that high.
Like that's nuts.
Like that's crazy. Well, Roman Josi 24.52. That might be the highest.
Yeah, his last couple years with Nashville, he's starting to get up into those 40s. Couple 50-point seasons with
25-15 for Karlsson. Wow.
Ryan Suter never had double-digit goals in a season. Highest is 9.
What a bum. Can't bury it. 26-11 for Drew Doughty. Goddamn. Workhorse.
Yeah, man. Doughty's a beast still. All these guys are all still playing at a really high level.
I was going to say that, like, all of those guys, like, so they're definitely starting to fall off. You know, he's not prime Erik Karlsson anymore or anything, but like any of them really, really starting to fall off. Like I thought, last year John Carlson, turns out he's back. I guess Suter has, but like other than that, like they're all still playing.
He's still playing serviceable minutes for the Blues. Like,
yeah, they're all still playing at least like 70%.
Like Ryan Suter's 40. All 3 years with Dallas, logged 82 games all season. He's played all 68 with St. Louis. Brent Burns, I mean, what? Well, he actually just turned 40.
40 is crazy.
And, I mean, like, fuck, he hasn't missed a game since the 13-14 season.
Well, Marlowe, he's coming for the record.
The problem again is Burns is already 40.
Yeah.
How many more years can he?
Are you going to tell him to retire? Are you going to tell him he's a healthy scratch?
No.
Coach ain't doing it. Dude, he's got Rod the Bod shaking in his boots.
If he goes to Vegas, he might.
Oh, that's fair.
That's something that, well, actually, I guess they did do that. Not even something Vegas would do. Something they did.
The vibes are so good in San Jose. He might sign back there for League Min next year just to hang out, just to have a good time. He's like, yeah. He's like, it just looks more fun than retiring. I might as well do it.
Yeah. Just go shirtless with Jumbo, just hang out, have a good time. Like, yeah.
Tarps off.
I don't see a downside to it. I don't see a downside one bit.
But
I believe
that's what I got.
That's everything. That's all we got.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't have anything else. That's everything.
You know what? Let's do a quick update. I'm going to quickly search this up on. We talked about Ovechkin's. Let's talk about. Okay, if I'm on HockeyDB and I put in Crosby, I'm sorry, I'm not looking for Evan Crosby. You know what I'm looking for.
What the fuck Evan Crosby do to you?
He made me take one extra click to get to Crosby's page.
Generational.
The real Crosby. Sidney Crosby, currently 67 games played on the season, 73 points. So at the time of recording, he is 6 points ahead of a point per game, and he is on track to beat one of Wayne Gretzky's other records for most seasons as a point per game player.
Nice.
So you know what? I've been loosely keeping up on his stats as well, because I'm really hoping he gets that.
Doing that many seasons being a point per game, or doing that many games point per season, all with the same jockstrap. I don't know.
Honestly, it's like tied. Like that's insane. Dude, the stories that jockstrap could tell.
Do you think it goes in the Hall of Fame?
I
think it has
hope
to. It has to, right? How could it not?
Unless Crosby deems it bad luck.
But at that point, man, you got to let everybody just see the glory of it. You think it'll be like at the museum, how they like at some place you have like that little button where you like push and you get like the smell of like the flowers or whatever. I think they have that Hall of Fame. You like press the button, you get to smell what the
they capture the essence of it.
Like.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
Hey, why not?
That would
People
be like
love
the
when
funniest
stuff's
interactive.
Exhibit. People love it when stuff's interactive.
The interactive Crosby jockstrap exhibit. Fuck.
I don't see why not.
God.
But that will wrap up everything for this episode. Once again, hope you all enjoyed as much as we did. If you want to join in on the hockey talk, you can do so through any of our socials. Links to all of our socials are down in the description for all episodes across all platforms. Click them, come over, say hi, come talk hockey. Braden, you know what time it is. Final thoughts.
Crosby's jockstrap. It's going in the Hall of Fame. It's going to get an exhibit at Heritage Park. It's really a piece of like Canadian legend at this point.
Dude,
put it on a $1
wearing
bill.
It. Oh, he scored the golden goal wearing that.
Yeah, put him wearing nothing but the jockstrap and a Team Canada jersey on the $100 bill.
Oh, dude, you know Joe Thornton would have loved to be able to do something like that. That's just bread and butter right there.
Amazing.
But that will wrap up everything for this episode once again. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, we will see you guys out on the ice on Friday later this week.